I'm gonna start recording. Yay, I don't want to miss anything now that you're here.
Goodness. Yay, technology when it works. It's so awesome.
Well, it's always operator error. And so,
Well, occasionally not, but most of the time, yeah, let's be honest. Yeah, it's usually us. Like our
so
horse stuff. It's usually us.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Put me around a horse, please. The learning curve for all this stuff's been pretty steep for me. And so yesterday, it because I've used so many devices, it wanted to send me a code, but the code wasn't coming to the email address that it said it had. And then I was like, it's not going there. So my son helped me today and he's like, well, let's check your other email addresses. And so although it said one email address, it was going somewhere else to an old one. So it was completely, solvable and user error. But last night I was like, I don't
Well,
know what to
especially
do.
in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the moment. It's the same thing when we ride. We get that limbic system activated and prefrontal cortex goes offline and
I thought this might be an interesting thing to look at because there was some of that last night, sitting down to go through something that I thought would roll out in a certain way and then hitting the unexpected. And I didn't have the answers. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and
oh,
actually that's a perfect segue into Whoop because that's literally one of the pieces we talk about in Whoop. It's like planning for adversity.
okay. Can I hijack this to do an introduction and then kind of come back to how these things tie together?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
that sounds really good.
awesome. So this is my friend Darcy Ecker. It's so much fun to look at your face. You don't look any different. It's really
Oh wow. Thank you, but no.
oh, amazing. And so Darcy and I have known each other since the 80s. And we
Yep.
were in that era in sport where we were still taught by the aging captains and colonels, amongst
Yeah.
others, our mentors. If we weren't taught
Yeah.
directly from the captains and the colonels, our mentors were.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
shared Nick Holmesmith was one of the mentors that we shared in common, as well as others.
Yeah. The
And
Colonel.
checkmate.
Mr. Jack. Jack, yes, sir.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm squinching up just thinking about
Yeah,
that.
I know, I puckered just a
What
little.
did you eat for breakfast this morning, Paige? A telephone pole? I tried so hard. It's terrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
got, what did I get? He said to me once, "You're about as useful as a gnat on your horse's back." I'm like,
Okay. Okay. Yes.
mm,
My favorite was when he would call someone up in front of the others and go, Darcy, Darcy, come here. Darcy, everybody look at Darcy's horse. And there's always a crowd, right? Everybody's
yeah.
looking at
And
Darcy's
he's going,
horse.
yeah,
And you're looking at your horse like this
yeah.
and going like, oh my God, what? And he goes, I'll use my name instead because it sounds so mean to do it to a guest. Paige, Paige, come over here. What's the matter with Paige's horse? Everybody look at O'Reilly. What's the matter with O'Reilly? He has an abscess on his back. And then he would launch in. You are nothing but an abscess on your horse's back. So,
See, that's part of that old school stuff where they made us feel this big. Thankfully, we've moved to,
well,
I don't know, more positive reflection. Because if you were in the right space, you could take that and be okay with, because everybody would laugh, right? Because they
yeah,
all, but there were other times when that happened and you were so belittled that
yeah,
literally you finished that ride and you retained nothing of it.
yeah. Well, often the goal, honestly, in lessons like ones that I was telling excerpts from,
Yes.
was often to reduce the student to something. And so, I think in Jack's case, there were a lot of things at play when he pushed people past the breaking point. Um, and a lot of pressures and things that were normalized back then. He was coaching men to carry out a mission and get it the fuck done. Like, if you think about
Mhm.
what he was training for, and I never
Yeah.
really did at the time, right? It was just a
No,
dressage
no, we
lesson
don't.
or a jumping lesson, and our sport was whatever. But He trained men to carry out a mission come hell or high water. So he didn't care if he broke you or not.
Yeah.
He needed you to. And he used to say to me, usually after a particularly rough lesson, of which I have plenty of stories.
Uh-huh.
And one of which had me bleeding behind the knees because my new boots weren't yet broken in. And most of the lesson was spent with him screaming, medium trot again across the diagonal. And then, you cannot seat the goddamn medium trot behind O'Reilly. And you can imagine what O'Reilly's Hawks were doing.
Yeah.
And
Good
the
luck with
whole
that.
thing would just go sideways.
Yeah.
And so the next time he saw me with my bleeding behind the knees and my twitching eye,
Shell shocked eyes.
perhaps smelling of gin after crying on someone's shoulder.
Still self-medicating.
Oh my God, being destroyed by Legoff in front of others, right? And he would say, there is method to my madness, sweetheart. If you can take what I dish out on a daily basis, the Olympics are a piece of cake. And when you're there, I'm your very best friend. Mm-hmm. Well, I never got there. So and mostly existed in that other sphere.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the other thing is, like, we look at how coaching has evolved and we look at how coaching has changed. That you're right. His paradigm was, I am training for this extraordinary high pressure. And I think there's still some of that in that military community, right?
Yeah.
But if we look at now, if you're looking at the top performers in sport and you're looking at their coaches, vast majority of them do have mental performance coaching. They understand more about neurobiology, physiology, somatic experiences. You watch the really great coaches, they do that in very, very small doses, only with certain types of athletes. Because most of us are so hard on ourselves at that level. I don't need to be so amped. I don't need to be in the top of my window of tolerance. I always talk about, your window of tolerance. If it's this big, right? So if that's my window of tolerance, ideally as a coach, I'm growing, helping my athlete to grow a larger window of tolerance. Because if I'm always living here in the top, it takes me nothing to redline, to be out of my window of tolerance. As soon as I hit that, this thinking part of my brain, this prefrontal cortex, it's gone offline. And all of those resources that I had, I can't access them. I mean, we've all had that experience writing an exam, right? You go in and in school, you've got a test you have to write, and you know this stuff, and suddenly it's gone.
Yeah.
And you walk out of the exam, you're like, why did I get that wrong? Like, I knew how to do it. But it's because when we calm down again and that prefrontal cortex, this thinking part of the brain comes back online, you can access that again, right? Yeah. And it was really interesting. Bowman, who was Michael Phelps's coach, he tells a really good story in his book. And he says, I was at World Championships. I watched two different coaches warm up two different athletes. And one coach is chatting with the athlete and kind of gets her laughing and smiling and relaxed. And she goes out and she is extraordinary. She ends up medaling. Another coach is nitpicking right to the last minute, gets that performer really on edge. She falls apart. She's a puddle on the ice. And she was the one that was favored to be extraordinary. So our ability to understand how a human brain works, how it changes your physiology, your muscles, not only how you can access information and all of those. I mean, if you're really high in your window of tolerance, and we all are societally, if that's my window, we're all living up here. And I'll talk to you guys later on about some tools you can do to start to make that window of tolerance bigger again. But we're all living up at the top all of the time. So we have nowhere to move when things, I mean, ideally you should be going, crappy, boring, it's a little better. Oh, something happened. Oh, but I should be able to bounce in my window of tolerance and recover. But if I'm living at the top, I have nowhere to go except out of my window of tolerance. I redline and I'm saying horrible things and doing awful things, and I can't access information and I can't regulate, and I'm so tense. Then I get on my horse and my horse is going, who the hell is up there today? Like, that's not my normal rider. And then our horse gets angry and stressed,
Yeah,
and it's
he
like,
jigs in the walk and he won't stand at the halt and he grinds his
yeah,
teeth and
yeah. And
what's
you're like,
going
what happened to
on and
that
he
horse with
wants to
that
run. Yeah.
beautiful? Yeah. So, I mean, I think thankfully we've, yay, technology, functional MRI machines, learning about the brain, all this, wearables and all the rest of it. We're a lot smarter about how we coach now.
Mm.
Some of us still have some stuff to learn, but we can be so much more supportive and help our riders get in that state where they can go in and ride the best they can on the day. Don't forget, there's me as an athlete, there's my horse as an athlete, and there's us as a team. And some days we're on, and some days one of us is and one of us isn't. But if we can sort of have those tools and those skills and that coach to really nurture us, I do the best job I can with the tools I have today. And it's
Mm.
recognizing we're all different, but we want to build resilience in our riders. We want to build resilience in ourselves, and we want to build resilience in our horse. Because then our teamwork, me and this extraordinary athlete who was my partner, we can, even if it's not an awesome day, it's still a good day. It's still a satisfying ride. I still took some amazing lessons from this. I can build my partnership and therefore my performance.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your venue is. I don't care if you're reining, roping, dressaging, or just pleasure riding. I want you to have tools to be so resilient that you can have something go wrong and you can really quickly bring your thinking part of your brain back down. You have such a big window of tolerance. You never redlined, which takes time to get out of. I can just stay in that window of tolerance and have something go wrong. Heart rate goes up, respiration goes up. I have some tools to re-regulate, but I never redlined, because redlining, it takes too long to recover. So there's all these just spectacular things that we can be giving people. And the other really great thing about it, it not only makes me a better equestrian and partner for my horse, it makes me a better human being. I treat myself better. I'm kinder to other people. I'm kinder to my children, the people I work with, my partner, right? It's like,
Wow.
they are life tools and life skills. So we all need, because we live up here in the
Yeah.
top, we all need a bigger window of tolerance. And one of the things about goal setting is the fact that my goal should be to be able to bring the best version of me to each day, to each activity.
Yes.
Recognize this wasn't my best moment. This was not my shining moment, but I never redlined. I never did something that I walk away going, oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Or
Or
I
I feel like,
did.
I can't believe I
Or
did
I
that.
did. I mean, sometimes we have to talk about recovery too, from like, oh, I
Mhm,
redlined and what
mhm.
happened was ugly. What do I do now? So
Yeah,
there's I can't believe how many parallels there are in our journeys, coming to a point where it's so much more interesting to us to give people the tools they need to access that magic and make it work, as opposed to telling them
yeah,
how to ride,
yeah.
come to this
You need
jump,
all
blah,
of
blah,
it.
blah, heels down. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
You need all.
a lot of the way I came into trying to help adult amateurs who were having a hard time turning what they knew and the lessons and the knowledge into something that where they could access their instincts and their timing and their flow. And I think that just statistically, so many of our participants in any equestrian sport now, coming in generally from non-horsey families and other jobs, and from the average lives that we have now, are just, our prefrontal cortex is hijacked, isn't it, Darcy? And we're trying to
100%.
connect with that animal, and there is nothing that your coach can do to make any magic happen now if you're arriving in that state for your riding lessons or your shows on the weekend. It's like we got to go work on something other than the shoulder in today, or how to stop him because he's running. It is peel back the layers, and these are the skills that I think the people we admired that did things naturally that maybe they couldn't explain, I would say had this measurable ability in spades, that we could probably measure their HRV and look at them as probably being people that are in the flow and in the green all the time. And then you can access your instincts and your
Yeah.
timing and your
Mhm.
thinking brain. Um, So I wanted to just mess a little bit with some of the old days and the smart stuff before I hand over the reins for some whoop and some solutions. And
Some whoop and some whoop.
yeah. So old days, I wonder, we were sort of on the cusp of change. They hired Terry Orlick to come and do some coaching for us once, and to witness as we came out of the dressage ring. Our process was to hand the reins to our groom or our mom or whoever.
Mom.
And come to confessional, and you confessed your sins. And so the order of go was, I did this wrong and this wrong. Oh, don't forget I saw you do that wrong too. Okay. And then that wrong. And then that was how we were coached. Terry was like, oh my, like, where to start, right?
Yeah.
And we had, in that day and age, smart goals. So how we would set our goals didn't sound anything like the road you're about to take us down. And I think between sort of the style of the coaching, our prefrontal cortex is being hijacked. And then setting unrealistic goals to timelines, we turned so many opportunities for beauty into very difficult experiences for horses. If you think of some of the things you've maybe gone through, like I have myself, maybe I've asked too much too soon because I was trying to qualify for something that had a timeline. And I just knew there had to be a better way, but I didn't know you had it until recently. So smart. I get hung up on these words. So our old way was to set goals that were, S stands for specific,
measurable,
achievable. Yeah, I'm on board, but achievable.
But we got to get there. Got to get there.
Yeah. And time bound. And the biggest one I have issue with is the time bound of the SMAR and the T, but it didn't create magic with horses and riders. It created people who were maybe good at sustaining pressure under competition, and probably created some resilience. But I'm going to hand it over now because Darcy already knew about all that day and age. I wanted to kind of paint the picture for our listeners. And she says, yeah, Paige, there's a better way, and it's whoop. So take us to a better place, Darcy.
Okay. So I think one of the most important things for us to remember is for us to ever have a chance of hitting that flow state, for us to ever have that opportunity to just, you have those moments where, like you say, Paige, the magic just happened. Like you come off your horse and you're like, why can't I do that more? Right. So we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves that opportunity. We are hunting the good. We are remembering that success leaves clues. What did I do really well last time? And I want to do more of that. That's the sweet spot. And that whole time-bound thing puts more pressure on us. And again, our whole life we live, if that's my window of tolerance, if that's my ability to be resilient and handle good stuff, and I'm so bored. Like if I want to be able to bounce up and down in that space and give myself time, I have so much room to go before I get in trouble. And so when we talk about whoop, the very first thing is W, wish. What do you wish for? Like it's not a goal in the concrete old idea of goal. We all need goals. You don't get better if you aren't setting markers of achievement. Right? Even if it's just, I want to become a better partner for my horse. I want to become a calmer person. What I want to not have so much muscular tension, whatever it is. We all need aspirations. You don't get better if you don't have something you're trying to achieve. So I want you to have goals, but instead of calling it goal and having all that baggage that goes with it, what about a wish? Wishes are dreams. There's this thing that if I could get that.
Feels softer.
Wish. Yeah. What do you wish?
It brings it into your body too, doesn't it? It starts to, when you wish for something, there's a feeling attached to it.
It's the same thing with dreaming, right? It's a somatic experience. You go back and you daydream, and you literally you feel it. It's like playing music, and you hear the song. Oh, I remember when, right? And you get that same but you get the somatic experience. So, what's your wish? What's the thing you really want to achieve? Then the next thing is when we talk about, my next thing is it's what would I observe? Who do I want to be when I get there? Who do I need to be to achieve that wish? Because I can have all the wishes and dreams that I want in the entire world, but unless I know that I have to become a different version of me, I'm not going to achieve it. Then the next, I'm so observable. What would I see? Who would I be? If somebody was looking at me from the outside, what kind of person would they observe? What kind of things would I be seeing in my own behavior? What kinds of things would I be observing about my pre-performance warm-up in order to have this extraordinary ride? So what would I observe, and what would an outsider observe? What are you seeing? Who are you being? The next O is obstacle. What are the things that you're going to get into trouble with? Because if you do not take a couple of minutes to think about the adversity, to plan for, I know my horse is really crap on the right lead when I turn down center line. How do you prepare for that? What kind of schooling have you done in advance? What did you do in your warm-up? I sure as heck hope you didn't grind your right lead. Right? I've worked on suppling my horse and making sure I need to be really attentive to the fact my horse really needs to be on my outside seat bone a lot with this aid. That just helps my horse a lot. So how do I plan for the adversity? What are my roadblocks that are going to get in the way? And then, so I've got my wish. What am I observing when I'm being that version of me? What are the obstacles that are going to get in my way of achieving that? And then make a plan. There's no time connected to this. So let's talk about an example of, let's not even talk about riding. I cannot catch my horse. I can't catch my horse. I'm not the best leader for my horse. My horse doesn't value me more than the herd. In fact, I just assume not be with you. Thank you very much. So you walk out to the pasture. I want my horses to come running to me. I want to call their name, like my dragon princess, demon mare that she is. I love her dearly. I call her, or she hears me. She leaves her crew and she comes booking to see me. I was like, oh, right? So you can't catch your horse. I wish I could catch my horse. Who do I need to be to catch my horse? Well, if I'm getting to the stables, all amped, high in my window of tolerance, lots of physical tension, I whack on the halter, I drag it across the field. Maybe I'm having to take out cookies right now. I don't want to have to take cookies out. Who do I need to be that person my horse wants to hang out with? So I had a client who could never, ever catch her horse. And she said, my horse must be in a tiny paddock. And I said, before you even exit your car, you need to take a couple of minutes and check in. If you're coming at your horse like this with all the crap from the day, I don't want to hang around you, never mind your horse.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you observe in yourself? What do you see in yourself? What do other people say they see when you're person your horse wants to be with? Who do you need to be? Obstacles. All right. I know that this is a gigantic, huge field that Darcy just turfed my horse into, and my horse doesn't connect with me really, really well yet. So, what's some adversity? Well, if all I ever do is catch my horse and ride it, maybe a really good idea to plan for this is go and catch my horse a couple of times before that day where I know there's a time constraint because I've got to get a lesson and I don't have time to get here from work. I'm going to go out and catch my horse. I'm going to give them some treats. I'm going to give them some snugs. I'm going to make it this wonderful, awesome experience. So my horse isn't kind of going, no way. My horse is going, maybe, right? I'm starting to build that bridge, taking you from who you were, the horse running away, to this person. Oh, your horse, at least he might not be coming to you yet, but at least he's not running away. He's waiting for you. And then what's my plan? I need to make sure I get there a couple days early. I need to make sure I don't come with an agenda. I'm just on horse time. I bring a couple of my horse's favorite cookies so that catching them is a reward there, because initially, right, I need to figure out a way to give my horse an olive branch that I am not showing up only to do the grind. And sometimes initially, treats and awesome, wonderful things are a fabulous way to start creating that bridge, that connection between my horse and me. So I have to make a plan. I've got my lesson on day X. Let's reverse engineer it. Let's pick the days we do just the hangouts. Maybe I just hand graze them for a while. Maybe if my horse is nice, I can hop on and go for a bareback hack and let him graze on their schedule, not on mine. So the whole whoop process is so totally, you're coming at it from a completely different place. I have a wish, a goal, a vision of what I'd like to achieve. I get really clear on who I need to be and how I need to show up for that to happen. I think about the obstacles and the things that are going to get in my way, and then I make a plan about how I get past those obstacles. If you don't plan for adversity, it blindsides you. It is extraordinary to some of the amazing athletes that I've worked with. They plan for adversity to the point where when something goes wrong, even if it's not what they planned for, they have so much confidence in their ability to handle whatever the hell comes at them. Like, how extraordinary is that? I have confidence.
Can you tell us the difference between disaster thinking and things you don't want to picture going wrong and planning for adversity? I think there's an important thread here to tease out.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of them has got a lot of baggage behind it. If I'm thinking about all the crap I've done, all the horrible things that have gone, we as human beings are not present moment focused. We are not. I'm not attentive. My attention span is 30 seconds at most. What do they say right now? It's 8 to 12 seconds?
No.
30 seconds, you're doing brilliantly, squirrel. So we usually jump in our time travel machine in our brain and we blast back to the history and we think of all the stuff that we did badly. I sucked, I was embarrassed, I felt awful, and I physically feel it. I have a somatic experience, which makes me even more tense, puts me even deeper into my stress system, my sympathetic nervous system. Or I jump in my time travel machine and I blast forward to the future and I think about all the what ifs, the catastrophes, and then this could happen, and then that could happen. Neither one of them are present moment focused. Your goal when we talk about planning for adversity, you think about the things that could impact your horse and your relationship in your performance to achieve this goal. I'm not thinking about what I used to do. I'm not thinking about what might happen. I'm thinking about my horse has a tendency to not get its right lead. What are the important things I need to make sure I'm doing so that I can really help my horse with its right lead? I know it drops its shoulder. I have to support more with my whole inner thigh and make sure my horse is balanced. Like, I'm not looking for disasters. I'm looking for ways to be successful. Hunt the good. Plan for success. How do I create opportunities for success? It's completely different. One of the things that we talk about in Resilient Rider is I do a little bit of NLP with them, and we talk about if you've got heavy baggage for something terrible, we do mental rehearsal or visualization. And there's a really cool way to sort of distance yourself in your body, because we carry everything in our body. There's ways to dial it down. So if you take a minute and you think about something that's happened recently, that's terrible. And you close your eyes and you envision it, you see it again, you feel it again. And then I get you to play with the image. And I want you to dial down the brightness in your mind. And I want you to dial down the sound in your mind. And I want you to shrink it and make it really tiny. So you're watching a video or something of yourself on screen and the picture's really, really far away. And so we play with those different modalities. And I was actually working with a mutual acquaintance of ours, Joni, and she's got some pretty extraordinary things that she's been dealing with. And she said for her, that was one of the most useful tools. She was getting ready to tackle something that was kind of feeling bigger. And she really practiced that dialing it down, fading it away. And if you do it a couple of times, it starts to feel less heavy. And then we do the opposite with something good. Because I want you to be feeling powerful. So I want you to remember something that was good. And I want you to dial it up. And I want the light brighter. And I want the feeling like you you feel it more, because we all have had those moments of joy and connection, and you feel it everywhere, right? So you dial that up and we make it bigger and brighter and stronger, and we connect it even more, because your brain and body are constantly communicating. It's either bottom up processing or top down processing. And so we really want to make sure that we allow those good things to build and fill ourselves up. And then we go and we'll create an anchor in our body with that great, powerful thing, so you can literally re-access it again. And I always tell people, your anchor is your secret. You have so for some people, their anchor is just touch a finger. For some people, their anchor is play with their ear.
Yeah.
We want to make sure your anchor is something you can access while you're riding. So we play with, where do you create that for yourself? But when you continually, it's like a habit, right? When you're a child and you're learning how to tie your shoe, first it's a big tangled mess and you're having a temper tantrum and you're throwing your shoe. And now you tie your shoe in the middle of having a conversation with someone, chewing on gum and listening to music, right? I invest zero cognitive energy in it. I want you to be able to do that with those good memories and just make them so powerful and such ingrained habits. It changes who you are and how you show up. The human brain is wired for negative. Why? And that's awesome, right? That it protects us. I don't want to think about, was that a saber-toothed tiger? Is that a bad guy bashing at my front door? I just want to react. Absolutely. But I also want these habitual things to not be negatives only. And that's where the brain goes. So we have to intentionally create habits that wire my brain towards success. We all know people who, it's like, I don't know, are you manifesting? Do you just have the best luck in the world? Why? Even when something goes wrong, do you still talk about, and therefore I become aware of, what was good in that thing? There are some people who have spent so much time training themselves to hunt the good, it changes your brain. Every experience you have, literally, it adds, as adults, sadly, we can't grow new neuron connections, but I certainly can put more branches on them. Mm-hmm. So do I want to have more branches to the crap stuff, or do I want to have more branches to the good stuff? I want you to prune away. The less you use a trail in the woods, the more it overgrows, the harder it is to find that cottage way down the path that you used to always go to. The trail grows in. So I want to decrease those neuron connections to the bad memory. And man, I want a super highway to the good. So it's easier to slip into that path of good. So again, it's like, what kind of modalities can we do to increase the opportunity to have this harmonious communication between brain and body, which brings the best version of me, success lose clues, hunt the good, all of those things. There's two amazing researchers that I absolutely love and I talk about in the Resilient Rider program all of the time. And one of them is Dr. Aaliyah Cuddy. She's at Stanford University now. She did this amazing study called the milkshake study. So really quick synopsis. She goes to McDonald's and she buys a milkshake. She takes the milkshake, she pours it in 2 different containers, and she brings people into her lab. And she says to them, will you taste this milkshake? It's not very good for you, but it's high sugar, high fat, really dense flavor. Taste it for me, tell me how you feel, and then I'm going to measure some chemicals in your body. So they drink the milkshake. Oh, that's extraordinary. I don't know what you added to this, but French kiss is brilliant. Tastes so good. So they rave about this thing, and she's told them the ingredients. They know there's crap in it, but it's so yummy. She measures a chemical that's produced in their gut. And this chemical is called ghrelin. And ghrelin is your hunger chemical. After they drink this high fat, high cal, not good for you milkshake, their stomach has very little ghrelin. And they're like, I got to tell you, doc, I don't know what was in that, but seriously, I am so full. It was amazing. Will you come back to my lab tomorrow and taste the other milkshake? We're really trying to figure out, flavors and tastes and all that sort of stuff. Sure, doc, free food, I'm back. The next day they come back. She hands them this milkshake. Remember, it's the exact same one, but they don't know it. And she says to them, this milkshake is low cal, high nutrient, really, really good for you. Don't know how good the flavor is yet. Looking for you to give us some feedback on that. And we're really interested in how hungry are you later on? Because we want to give you high density nutritional food, but we also don't want you eating it and 5 seconds later being hungry again. So they taste the milkshake. Oh, geez, is this made with water? Like it's thread. What flavor is this supposed to be? It's horrible. I can't even finish this, doc. It's terrible. But they have to finish it. So they finish their same amount in both milkshake. Then they go back and they measure the ghrelin. It's through the roof. They are getting these hunger pangs. They are hungry. There is no difference. What they believed changed the chemicals in their gut. Yeah. What you believe changes the like how extraordinary is that? That truly is thoughts become things.
Yes.
What you think about impacts, not just am I tense, am I having a hard time to breathe, do I feel hot butterflies? It changes literally the chemicals that impact your gut response.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So if I'm super tense and I'm really worried and I'm like high in my window of tolerance, everything is overwhelming and terrible and awful, and I don't know how to cope. So if I want to be able to cope with adversity, I first want to make sure I know how to regulate my nervous system. So I've given myself that big window of tolerance. I want to make sure that I practice dialing down the terrible things, dialing up the good things, dial up the good things, dial up the good things. Great. Now you have all these resources. You know you have done this and this and this before, even when things went wrong. You can handle this. Your confidence, right, starts to boost. Now let's talk about how do you best prepare to help your horse for something, what's something that could go wrong? I could blow a lead. My horse could spook in the corner. Whatever things. Okay, so how do we plan for that? What will you do to support your horse when and if that thing happens? And it changes how I think about it. But I come at it first by build my window of tolerance. Make sure I'm low so I have lots of room to go before I'm in trouble. Start thinking about possible roadblock, possible adversity, what could go wrong. No time travel machine. I'm just thinking, it's just a plan. If I'm driving from A to B to go to a horse show and there is a detour on the road, I plug in a new path on my Google Maps and I go to it. I want you to be able to do that same thing. Planning for adversity is like having Google Maps. I just reroute and carry on. I'm 5 minutes late, big deal. Mm-hmm. So it's a different way of coming at it, and we get rid of the time factor because it's all about growing and changing and evolving and bringing the best version of you to everything you can. And the more you live in that state, the more that becomes who you are. It changes the chemicals in your body and it changes the neural connections in your brain. We are literally changing the way humans have been wired forever because extraordinarily, that's what neuroscience has shown us, we are very capable of doing. And what an amazing gift technology is to have shown us that. Yeah, crap with technology, lots of bad stuff, but there's some pretty extraordinary things. So again, focusing on the good, what are the amazing things that neuroscience and neurobiology has proven beyond a doubt rather, that we are capable of. We just need the tools and resources, and we need the people who can tell us about it, coach us through it. We go home and practice those things because it's not just while I'm in the saddle. It's not just when I'm catching my horse. It's when I have to have a hard conversation with my coach because I don't really agree with what they're doing, or a hard conversation with my partner because they keep doing whatever they're doing, right? It's like, how do I practice for that adversity? If you had a major fight with somebody at work and then I go into work the next day and I've fleshed out all of the terrible things they did yesterday and have added even more to it, and I walk in like, oh, here we go, right? Instead of, okay, this didn't go well. How am I going to talk about it? What might they say that's going to disagree with me? How might they try to object? And how can I kindly still make sure that they understand that these are not meeting my needs and we have to work together to get to the other side of this, instead of coming in attack mode, bull in the china shop, high in my window of tolerance. And now they say anything and I'm redlining and stuff's coming out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I said that. But there's just extraordinary tools out there to help me to achieve the things, my wishes and goals and hopes and dreams, that I might never get there, but man, I want to have those goals and I want to get close to that. That's who I want to be. That's how I want to show up. That's what I want to achieve. how can I take as many steps as I can to get there? Because God forbid something dreadful could happen to my horse. Something could happen to me. I might never get there, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to try, because I become a better version of me, a better leader for my horse. All of those things get better. Our relationship gets better. All of our relationships get better if we have the tools and we stop and think about what might go wrong and how, with the skills and tools I have, could I get past those roadblocks? And if those are roadblocks that seem to be happening for me and I don't have the tools, well, now I know what I need to work on. I'm not blindly stumbling around, which makes me more anxious and stressed and not thinking. So there's just, I mean, adversity is awesome. All of those roadblocks are awesome. Those are the things that make me better. Stop seeing them as terrible things and see those as your opportunities. That's your growth potential.
Yeah.
So brief.
The empowerment that comes from looking at adversity and finding the lesson in it, and for bonus points, finding the humor. And it's like you become untouchable then, right? It has, you can release it. You don't need to be a victim of whatever awful drama is happening. You can have some power back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes the power is to walk away from it.
Yep.
Right? Because sometimes we know from social psychology, because psych is one of the really big things that I teach, and I always tell, especially kids, a lot of adults, please stop being a high schooler, right? Stop being a high schooler. How do I do that? There are times to recognize I will be amped by other people. And the more in a relationship I am with them, either there's someone I have to work with or there's somebody that's near and dear to me, their mood gets shared to me. And sometimes I have to acknowledge I am getting amped. I am not bringing the best version of me to this. We are not going to solve it when I'm amped too. This is not the moment for that conversation. But if I take that as information when I go away, I can think about, okay, so what happened in my body? What was causing me to redline and amp? And what adversity is going to reappear? What can I do to make sure that that roadblock doesn't become insurmountable? Whether it's with your horse or whether it's with another human being, it doesn't matter. As soon as we're curious about it, DJ Hillier always says, get curious, not furious. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah.
Wonder
Curiosity is a
why.
whole other.
What's behind that? I wonder why. Yeah. Wonder why I'm
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
that. That's
Yeah.
curious. Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's we just get so emotionally, we're already so stressed. So we're
Mm.
so high in that window of tolerance. We're already so amped. We don't have resources and resiliency in that top piece. So my first job is to learn how to increase my window of tolerance so that I have the opportunity. I give myself the chance to get curious, to stay present moment focused, to stop time traveling forward to all the terrible what ifs or all the horrible things that happened. And it takes practice, but with practice, it gets easier. And it's like, oh, the world just feels a heck of a lot lighter.
Mm.
But it's just, how do I reframe that? How do I do that? Well, before you can even get there, you need to give yourself grace and get a bigger window of tolerance.
So I keep finding some common themes in here, and one that is beautiful is that it doesn't matter whether it's with your horse or which relationship it is, right? That a being in a relationship and feelings are transferred measurably, which is interesting, that it's not just sort of a romantical notion anymore, and that being in this state is an impediment to everything we're trying to do to create safety and connection. So the first thing to do before a difficult conversation, and this jives with what Carmen Theobald teaches in her difficult conversations courses and Linda Kahanoff and their crew, and there's just all these jive points. The most important thing we can do is self-regulate. So I wondered if you had a go-to exercise that you wouldn't mind sharing, and some tips to help people. They're okay, so I think we've got them bought in. They're like, okay, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I want to, what's a easy, it's got to be easy way I can do this.
Yeah. So there's several tools that are all real time and all of them are easy tools. Okay, so the very first one is discovered in 1930s. It is called the physiological sigh. Breath is attached to our nervous system. There is a very large nerve that runs between our diaphragm, so that great big plate of muscle right underneath your rib cage. Your diaphragm is 360. It's like a great big circle with two tails hanging out the back of it. And those two tails that hang out the back of it go down and attach to your adrenals. So two little lumps just above your kidneys. And your adrenals are the thing that release adrenaline. And we all know what adrenaline feels like. It's either like, yeah, or like, ah. But so because that thing communicates back and forth between brain and body, if I can change my breathing, if I can change what my diaphragm is doing, it changes some of the messaging that's getting back to my brain. Don't forget, this is a black and silent cranial vault. The only way your brain is getting information is from what you hear, see, touch, taste, and the chemicals in your body. So that's top down and bottom up processing. So I can change my breathing. If you hold your breath, I do a really cool exercise in my workshops. I put an oximeter on your finger and I have you take a whole bunch of breaths, and then I make you do lunging walks or carry weights, or depends on the group I'm working with, and you have to hold your breath. And I make them go like 4 or 5 laps, and then they come back and then they take a big breath, and I'll say, what happened to you? I ran out of oxygen. Look at your oximeter. Oh, I didn't run out of oxygen. It's the increase in carbon dioxide. It's not a running out of oxygen. And as I increase carbon dioxide, my blood gets ever so slightly more acidic. And all my brain knows is I am more acidic. I am not getting enough gas exchange going on. So my brain says it's either fight, I'm fighting and I'm running out of, I'm not getting enough gas exchange, or I'm running, not good gas exchange, hidden and being really quiet and trying not to breathe. So no gas exchange. So that's all your brain knows. Something's wrong, right? And what do? All of these things start to happen. So the number one thing is breathing. When you start to notice that you're really, really getting tense, it's not a breath in. Your first job is a massive dump out, like, it's gotta go, noise, get rid of the carbon dioxide. And now we want to maximize the intake of oxygen. So it's ideally through your nose because of nitric oxide and all of these awesome extra little boosts. So ideally through your nose, and it's a huge breath in. And when you think you've got all you can, one more short little sniff. When you sleep at night, you do this naturally. If you listen to a little kid cry, right? Little kid goes, that's a physiological sigh. We naturally do it. You do it and you sleep, and little kids do it all the time. And you might even do it after a cry fest, right? We naturally do it. So what does it do? It's a really fast reset, and 2 or 3 physiological sighs, big dump, huge in, another tiny in, big dump. And you wait for a couple seconds, right? So go and dump it. 2 or 3 of those will make a very tiny shift in the concentration of carbon dioxide in your body, and your brain goes, oh, getting better gas exchange. We must be done fight, flight, freeze. Getting out of dodge, fighting for our lives, or being frozen still and hoping they don't see us, because suddenly we're breathing naturally again. Your brain doesn't know any different. So 2 or 3 physiological sides is really useful. Another fantastic tool for a fast reset. When you're super stressed, what do? Soda straw view of the world. You're zoned in on that saber-tooth tiger or that person you're trying really hard not to hit, right? And your eyes have gotten really big, and you are literally, your eyes are boring into them. So another really good fast fix is use your peripheral vision. You don't need to turn your head. Just relax your gaze. What do I see peripherally all around me? With my riders, before they go to do whatever their performance is, I always tell them, soften your gaze. What do you notice around you? Start paying attention to what's around you. Oh, the person who's shutting the gate behind me on the dressage test is wearing a pink hat, or The gate guy, if I work with a lot of high school rodeo kids, the gate guy is really slow on getting that gate open. I'm going to have to make sure I'm faster off the draw, right? So start paying attention peripherally. It only takes a couple of seconds. Again, the message to your brain is, my eyes are not boring into that bush looking for a predator. The world is good. I'm looking around at the trees and at the grass, and oh,
Yeah.
look, there's some berries hidden there. So you want to start using your peripheral vision. So those are the two really, really fast resets. Another thing that happens so often when we go back and we think about breath, all of us have either had it or heard it. Coach will yell at their rider, just breathe. No, because chest breathing puts you in your stress system, in your sympathetic nervous system. It's not just breathe. I am trying to teach every coach I work with, just belly breathe. Because again, you drop your diaphragm, your heart has more room in your cave. And if anybody wants it, if you either go through Paige or you can drop me an email later, I will show you there is a fantastic graphic animation that has been done for medical students, and it shows you anatomically what happens when your diaphragm drops, what happens to your lungs, and what happens to your heart. And just changing the space my heart has to work in changes the beat of my heart. It slows my heart rate. So it's not just breathe, it's belly breathe. So when I do that, you have to use your belly, right? And breathing is 360. It's not just your chest. Good breathing, like your diaphragm goes around the whole container of you. It's breathing through your back, all of your body, your whole chest, all of your intercostals. And those intercostals are the muscles between your ribs that go from in front of your chest all the way and connect into your spinal cord. So it's not just breathe here, which keeps me in my sympathetic nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system has got two branches. It's got your stress system, sympathetic, and the other side starts with a P. It's called parasympathetic. I tell my clients, think of it as your pot head system. What do you do when you're token? I'm chill. I got the munchies. Rest and digest. That's what parasympathetic is for. I want to be in my pot head system. Rest and digest. Chill, humorous, relaxed. I want to be in that nervous system as much as I can. Again, by doing that, you dropped yourself down into a lower piece of your window of tolerance. Our window of tolerance has shrunk societally, and it feels normal because our systems have recalibrated. And this tiny window, people say, I'm not stressed. I'm fine. I'm not stressed. Really? Because it's our new normal, and our nervous system, just like, we adapt when we pump iron, we adapt when we run, our body systems adapt to what's normal for us. Yeah. So we've all got these really tiny window of tolerance. If I can take time throughout my day, as soon as I start to notice I'm tense, it's hard to relax your muscles when you're really, really tense. But can I start using my peripheral vision, softening my gaze? Can I start belly breathe, 360, dump the carbon dioxide? I'm giving my brain a reset, because your brain has no clue why you're tense. It just is getting messages that are changing the chemicals, like the milkshake study, right? You're changing the chemicals in your body. Mm-hmm. And that changes how my muscles work, and it changes how my brain functions, and it changes how resilient I can be. Yeah. And you don't have to do huge amounts constantly during your day. There's a jerk that cut me off in traffic. Oh, I don't have to think about thought shifts and all the rest of that, which is also a valuable tool, but I can just kind of go, belly breathe, dump that carbon dioxide, soften my gaze, right? And just those tiny little shifts, although it doesn't drop me way down, it certainly gave me a little bit of room. And anything I can do to stay away from my red line, that's good. And the more often I can do it, the more I grow. Oh, wow, look how far I can go now before I redline. So they're just easy real-time tools. Physiological side, dump the CO2, get as much oxygen. The best gas exchange is through your nose, so ideally through your nose. But if it's really bad, just like a crying kid, sometimes they have to do that, right? It's just getting rid of that carbon dioxide and maximizing oxygen changes the message to my brain. Soften my gaze. bought myself a little space, a little time. And you literally, I work with students that have really high anxiety. They have a timer on their phone to remind themselves to do a reset every 90 minutes.
Mhm.
Intentionally, on purpose. Just keep growing it, keep growing it, keep growing it.
Yeah,
Gives me
that's
time.
beautiful that that has become the norm. You know, it's people think they want us to teach them how to ride half pass or jump an oxer or, you know, help them keep their heels down. But
Mm.
this is the this is what makes it all come together and what makes it all happen.
Because now I can think about where's my body weight for that half pass. Now I can think about what line do I need to ride to get to that oxer. And the other awesome thing about it, instead of having to jump my horse over that damn oxer 8 times until I get it, I need to do it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm regulated, I'm calm, I can think, I can visualize the path. Instead of going, oh, just jump the jump, the jump. No, it's like, I need to stay on that outside stirrup. I need to support that outside rein through the turn, right? And
Yeah.
and then I can stay concentrated on keep my shoulders back, ride the hind quarters. What's the balance instead of just boxer, right?
Yeah.
So now I have to go down my horse 8 times until I start to, oh, that's not so scary. Oh, that's not so scary. Oh, that's not so scary. And now I can think and do it. Can we start there, please? And save
Mm-hmm.
your horse's legs? Whether you're a
Mm-hmm.
barrel racer or a reiner or whatever, I don't care what your sport is. Do less crap on your horse by regulating yourself first so you
Mm-hmm.
can think, plan, feel more in control, and achieve more in less time.
Yeah.
Do the homework over there, then bring
Yeah.
the awesome or best you to the horse and the ride and the thing you want to learn. Half past isn't so hard now because
Yeah.
I can literally think and feel and do instead
Yeah.
of like this and this and
Yeah.
what she say? How many people? I actually was working with somebody this weekend and she had just done she does Western dressage and she said, I had an abysmal show. I had somebody calling my test and I didn't even hear them. And she said, it was videoed. I watched it. They called that same thing for me 3 times. I didn't hear it. It's because your auditory system goes off when you're in your sympathetic nervous system. You don't hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's your nervous system can be hijacked. It can also be massaged.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better for you. That's what resilience is. That is what we need more of because
Yeah.
not only am I a better, kinder equestrian, I'm also a better, kinder sports person. My horse needs less grinding. I don't have to figure it out and exhaust my horse while I kind of figure it out in my body. So it saves my horse, builds my relationship, makes me more resilient, bigger window of tolerance. I don't redline so fast, so I'm not so exhausted at the end of the day, so I can sleep better. All of those things, like truly, they're life-altering tools if you invest in them a tiny bit on a regular basis, and until they become who you are and what you do without thinking about it. Ingrained habit, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to invest any more energy thinking about what I need to do except ride my horse. There's your flow state.
Yeah. So those tools becoming habit, I can speak to. I'm curious. Looking forward to trying the big sigh reset.
Right.
I have another breathing pattern that I learned and use now. I find myself doing it automatically. You know, I don't even know that I do it. Kind of slip into
Yeah.
that long, slow out breath, double the out breath to in breath. Like,
And do you know why you do that?
I do it purposely to regulate my nervous system to keep it out of the red. And I would do it, for instance, on the way to doctor's appointments when I was going through treatment, or if I was going to meet with someone and it was difficult, my ex or something like that, I would do that and it would bring me reliably into the green, which is sort of an easy way of measuring through the heart math tools your flow state. So it would bring me into a flow state. Yeah.
And do you know why it works?
Because
The long exhale?
it's working with your parasympathetic nervous system, but
Exactly right. It's your diaphragm.
yeah.
Exactly right. When you
Yeah, it's
exhale, your
dropping.
diaphragm, yeah, your diaphragm's dropping. That's why the It drops your diaphragm, gives your heart more space, slows how much, gives your lungs more room to maximize the alveoli expansion, better gas exchange. So physiologically, that's why it works. It's moving that diaphragm. And the longer you can exhale, the better. Long exhale. So when you've done your, just dump the CO2, right? Just get rid of that. And then you can switch to the box breathing with the, extended exhales or whatever tools you're using, but you want to maximize the exhale because you really are, now that I've done that quick reset, when you're really, really stressed, you can't breathe out for very long, right? You've gone to chest breathing,
Yeah.
but if you can do the quick, just dump, now I can go to that long, slow exhale. And if you can stay in it a little longer, even better. But when you're really freaking out and really amped, you can't exhale very long. But a physiological sigh gets rid of that carbon dioxide, shifts me from the chest breath. Now I can really maximize that exhale. And that's that really long exhale is fabulous. Like if you have a hard time to sleep the night before competition, before cross country, I'm ready to go. Before dressage, I can't sleep. And it's just using that long exhale, literally, and focusing on the breathing, being very present moment focused. It shuts off some of the chatter that's going on, decreases the activity in the limbic section, the freak out part of your section of your brain. And so, yeah, that's an awesome tool. But if you're super amped and you can't get to that long exhale yet, physiological sigh, dump, double inhale, exhale, double inhale, exhale, 2-3 times until you're like, okay, heart rate's slowing, give my heart some more room. And now go to that, your breathing pattern. Awesome. Builds that window of tolerance. I can handle more crap with less effort.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Are there
so awesome.
any other gems you had to share before I ask some more questions? Is there something else you wanted to?
One other tool of when we're talking about eyes, one other tool is, yes, peripheral vision is really, really awesome. Another really great tool for eyes as far as relaxing musculature, lifting your eyes to the horizon. Our tendency when we're in stress, our eyes drop down, our head drop down, which decreases breathing anyway, but eyes elevated above the horizon, because we have a tendency to kind of peer through the center of our eyes. Lifting our eyes to the horizon, allowing us to use the bottom half of our eyes, which are what our horse does naturally, also has an impact on some of our musculature. So you want to be I tell people, pretend you're a snob and sniff in people's direction. It's just that tiny little tilt. I'm raising myself to the best version of me. So just that tiny little tilt and elevating your eyes also plays an impact in your muscle structure, especially in your neck and shoulders. So that's another really good one. Like if you've got to go down center line or whatever you're doing, just lifting your head a little bit, intentionally lifting not just picking your nose up and leaving your eyes down, like lifting your eyes above the horizon. That will, because some people will be doing this and they're still looking down, right? No, lift your eyes. And so that also is a helpful tool. It's amazing how 30% of your neural real estate in your brain is devoted to your eyes. Your eyes are bits of brain tissue that were squished out of the cranial vault during fetal development. This is part of your brain. Can I use this to my advantage? It's not just the nerves and all the rest. So yeah, really cool things.
Oh, Marinda, thank you so much for being there. Marinda signed in again today and she has to sign off for another meeting. So she's going to miss a chance to ask questions, but thanks for being there, Marinda. I wondered, I want to hand it over to the floor soon for some questions. But I had a question about what happens when, how do you help people who have been hijacked, they have maybe lost their temper, they have lost some sort of trust with their horse now, and they have something they regret. And it was a horrible incident, whatever it looked like. And now, do you have some tips or tools to help people get past their disasters?
The most important thing is, remember, I can't change what happened. I have to give myself some grace. That was a learning opportunity. I don't want to show up as that version of me again. But we get into this, self-flagellation. I suck, I'm terrible, I'm awful. You're time traveling again. How can I be present moment focused? My goal always is, what did I learn from that? So I give my riders everybody gets a performance journal. And one of my favorite templates is, how do I learn to direct my brain? How do I know what to focus on? Because I can either talk to myself and think positive, productive thoughts, or if I'm not intentional about it, my brain starts just throwing spaghetti at the wall and it's always crap, right? It's always bad stuff. So I need to know how to direct my thoughts, what I need to be saying to myself and thinking about, so that I don't get in my time travel machine. I want you to stay right here, right now. I don't want you blasting to the past, nor do I want you blasting to the future. I want you to stay present moment focused. So a tool that I give my riders to work on after all rides, because again, we're building the habit. I think the best one is a success checklist, and it's a well, better, how. So even on that crap ride, that terrible, awful performance, what did I do well? What's the, again, hunt the good. Success leaves clues. What did I do well? What would I like to do better? And how am I going to do it? Even in the most abysmal rides, there is something good. There is a nugget of something. Hunt what was good and do more of that. It does not serve you, does not serve your horse. If you're already coming out literally tense and I did this and I feel terrible and I suck and I amp my horse even more. If I come at it as my horse came out really, the day started okay. I got really good bend. They were listening to my leg, or they followed me in from the pasture, right? I was listening to their breathing and their footfalls. I did a good job of that. Awesome. Do more of that. How are you going to do that? Well, every time I start getting stressed and amped and thinking about all the crappy stuff, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start to listen to my breathing, or I'm going to do a physiological sigh, or I'm going to pay attention to the rhythm of my horse's footfalls. What's the thing you can do so that you can do better? And then how? How do I do that? Well, I probably would lead you through a visual, a mental rehearsal activity where we would dial down some of the emotional baggage that we carry. I mean, we can either have capital D trauma, or we can have lowercase trauma. When something goes wrong, it feels traumatic, right? Especially if I really wear that. So we would go through an exercise where we would see it, be back in that moment. Like, you close your eyes, we do a little bit of relaxation and 6 to 8 breaths and kind of get focused again. And then I want you to see it and feel it again. And I want you to make it far away and make it darker and bring it closer to you and make it really dark. And literally it changes some of the response in your body. And now I want you to go back to an awesome moment. I want you to find the thing that was good. And I want it bright and I want it big. And I want you to literally be there and in it again. And then once you're in that state, that's what I want you to take when you get back on your horse. So what did I do well? Oh, this felt so good. Like that was really good today. Okay. How could I do more of that? Oh, if I'm faster to pay attention to my horse's footfalls when I start to time travel, if I'm faster about being present moment focused, right? Then I don't get, because for me, with my clients, I talk about signal lights or stop lights. So it's same as you were mentioning before. You're in the green, all is great. You're in yellow, things are starting to go wrong. If you don't have the tools and the awareness to catch it when it's in yellow, before you know it, you're red. And there's not much you can do in red except say, that's all we're doing today. So how do you know what your yellows are? And when you know when you're getting into your yellow signal lights, you start getting very aware of what's happening. Oh, I'm getting tense. I'm clenching my jaw. I know my tension is in my jaw. I start to notice those clues. I start to tune into them more. And then I start to direct my thoughts. What am I focusing on? Master meditators, people that have decades into meditating, we know all kinds of really cool things happen in the brain. But if you had to guess, how long do you think a master meditator can stay focused on an object or their breath or whatever, compared to somebody who does it all, who never does it? How long do you think a master meditator can go before they're distracted?
A master meditator, could they do 15 minutes before they're distracted?
Would you believe 3 to 5 seconds?
Seconds.
Just like the rest.
I'm
Just
gonna
like
be
the
so
rest.
much easier on myself now. Turns out I'm a master meditator and I didn't know it.
You know what but you know what they're extraordinary at? They're extraordinary at catching when their attention wanders off. So it's like walking a puppy and teaching it how to heel. Do you notice the second the puppy goes, ooh, what's that? And say, stay here, pay attention. Or are you the puppy on the leash who's tangled around the fire hydrant and your person who's leading you, where's the dog? Oh, he stays way over there. The rest of us who don't meditate, who don't invest in the awareness, we don't even notice until the poor puppy's tangled around the damn fire hydrant. Master meditators catch that puppy's nose going, ooh, fire. No, 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 no. Stay here, stay here. That's where they're extraordinary. So if we can build your ability to recognize, oh, I'm getting into my yellow, how do I reset? Instead of, oh no, I'm red. I don't want you getting into red. I want you to be the master person teaching that puppy to heel. The nose goes and they just go fire, and you got them back. So when you've got that ability, when you've invested small amounts of time on a regular basis, just like a master meditator does, you get really good at catching, my thoughts are crap. They're not serving me. There's some tension. How do I release it? Just do big dump, physiological sigh, soften my eyes. Okay. What did I do really well last ride? What would I like to do better? How am I going to do that? Oh yeah, I remember I said I was going to be more aware of my outer seat bone. I was more aware of what what the footfall is. What is it? And then you bring your attention back and then you get to drop back into green. Mm. So yeah, I like the analogy. I use the signal analogy a lot. By the time you're red, your day is done. Your activity is done. Because when we are flooded with cortisol and adrenaline and epinephrine, epinephrine is so powerful, it's released in two places. It's released as adrenaline from your kidneys and it's released within your brain because you need it for fight, flight, freeze. You need it to be. We hear these stories of people lifting a car off a kid, like crazy things. We need that adrenaline, but I don't want it so high that I can't think, that my brain's gone offline. I don't want you to be hijacked. I want you to catch it when it's rising and go, not today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does take practice, but not lots, tiny amounts frequently. And the better you know yourself, right? And the more, I don't want anybody that I work with to not enjoy their ride, to not take something positive from it, to not see the mistakes and challenges as opportunities to grow. I don't want you beating yourself up about it. So when you're done your ride, you're going to go do your well better how. You're going to go hunt the good. What did you do that was good? How do you do more of that? That's who you want to be. Why are you wasting time thinking about the crap? It's like if I'm driving the car and it's skidding on ice and I'm looking where I'm into that horrible corner I'm about to hit, they always tell you when you're a kid in driver's ed at 14, don't look in the direction of the travel of where your car is going. Look where you want to go, right? Where do you want to go? I want to be that me. I want to be that kind, caring, compassionate person. Give myself some grace, hunt the good. Mm-hmm. And by doing it after every ride. I don't know about you, Paige, but I have got stacks of journals from my years, especially my checkmate time, because there were so many people, right? And so many extraordinary coaches. And I have all this stuff I wrote down. Man, I wish I'd known, like success checklist, well better how. It's short, it's sweet. It reframes what I did for the day. And that's what I carry. That's what I drive home thinking about. That's what I want to do more of that. Mm-hmm. So stop the time travel, present moment focus. What do I think about? The stuff I wrote about yesterday. I'm going to read my success. Oh, I did this well yesterday. I wanted to do this better today. This is how I thought it. Oh, I'm going to try that. Yeah, that's, I don't think that's going to work today. I'm going to try a different how. How will I do that today? Awesome. That's becoming a better equestrian, right? What tools do I need? And when I'm calmer and I can think about it and I look at what I wrote down, oh, my coach said I'm supposed to be working on this. I'm going to try that today. And again, accessing prefrontal cortex. The extraordinary equestrians have got a huge number of tools in their toolbox. Go use them. You can't use them if you're hijacked. Yeah. You can't, because you can't. You just react. Yeah.
That's the first tool. Mm-hmm. So is that checklist that you've mentioned something that you have? I'm wondering about a gift for people who are paid subscribers or course takers, something that thanks them for showing up. Maybe I could send them a link to something of yours. And if you can tell us before we go to open up to other questions, how people can find you and work with you.
So I'm Epops Performance. When I taught in alternative schools with at-risk kids, I had hockey players, I had business kids that were making triple my salary. I had kids that had just been released from a juvenile detention center who were street kids. Like the school I worked in had kids from all realms. And everybody called me Darcy, which was awesome. Then I got into traditional school and they said, they can't call you Darcy. That's not respectful. Really? They can, I'll tell you, they can say my last name with a lot more baggage then. So I was Ecker Popiel, which is a mouthful. And literally my very first day, I had this brilliant young man from England. He said, do you think, could we tweak your name? Like, I'm never going to remember that. I said, sure. Should we change it to? He goes, I got it. You're Epops. And the end of that 80 minutes, I was Epops, and I have been Epops ever since. My pony club kids can call me Epops in the hall. They would get in trouble for calling me Darcy in the hall.
Right.
I'd be coaching 18-year-olds. So I am Epops Performance. And I do one-on-one coaching. That's the Empowered Equestrian program. And I have an 8-week coaching program where equestrians all come together. We meet once a week. We talk about some tools, a little bit of the science behind it, because I think if you know a little of the science, you better understand how you can use the tool. You have homework and worksheets that's sent to you. The following week, we come back, we debrief, you learn a new tool, and then we do a little hot seat coaching. So everybody has the opportunity to bring their problem. It is extraordinary how much we learn from watching someone else be coached. So that's one of the, I think group, I've done enough masterminds and been coached in masterminds. I think group for mental performance, you learn so much more. If you've got like something really big and heavy and awful, yeah, one-on-one is brilliant. But I think our opportunity to learn from one another, it's like if you're in a really good riding lesson and you watch somebody make a mistake and then you don't make that mistake, right? That's one of the perks of being in a semi-private or in a group lesson. So Resilient Rider is the group program. It's just wrapped and I'm getting ready for the next round. It's kept small. We cap it at 10. And that way everybody has an opportunity for hot seat coaching. And we talk about the 10 most important skills for all of us to have as equestrians, so we're more resilient. And I walk you through exercises and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, Epops Performance, and there's some freebies there. And
Wonderful. Thank you so
yeah,
much for having this chat with
absolutely.
us tonight. We'll
Absolutely.
sign off officially for what will come on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening.